Building construction is not my forte, but when it's my project, I'll get my hands dirty. By God's amazing intervention, today we signed the lease on the first official meeting place for Hope NYC Church. There is a problem though. There is a wall. A wall smack dab in the center of what was supposed to be the sanctuary. You know it had to go. Hi, my name is Pastor Sharo, and it is 2022. This particular story I'm reading was written more than a decade ago when we first bought the first building. We signed a lease on the first place where the church I now pastor was going to meet. And there was a wall going through the sanctuary. Well, guess what? In 2022, we're starting to build a brand new sanctuary, and there is a problem. There is a big wall going down the center of the building. So today, while I was thinking about what I was going to do for this podcast, I picked up my book and I was just leafing through the pages, and I came upon this story called Tearing Down the Walls. And as I began to read, I chuckled to myself and to everyone in my office, and I said, hear this, guys. There is a problem, though. There is a wall. And I said, wait a minute, I'm right back there again. There is a wall. And they said, well, what happened? And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to read you the rest of this story so you hear what happens. It's a bit of a different podcast, but I promise you're going to like it. On Sunday afternoon, I conducted dance practice, and I had to pause and look as Curtis demolished the wall. Something about seeing it come down was fascinating to me. Granted, it was no Berlin, but still a sight. Also interesting was what was left in the aftermath, a wide open space of pile and rubble. I feel an analogy coming on, and the pastor in me has to mention that sometimes when we tear down the things in our lives that hamper our growth, like toxic relationships, bad habits, and a job you hate, there's a freedom that comes at the breaking point. A wide open space of liberation is in your sight, and it feels good. At your feet, though, inevitably lies a pile of rubble. That ugly pile is reminders and it's remainders. They are traces of those things that you gave up that keep popping up to suck you down back into destructive behavior. So on Sunday, I stopped the dance class, and piece by piece, the dancers moved all of that old wall to the garbage. It took work, sweat, and bruised fingers, but in the end, the entire wall was gone. That's what it takes for a new start. It takes you dealing with the remnants of your struggles and moving them away. It takes blood, sweat, and tears to clean up the mess. But before you start dreading the process of cleaning up the mess, I've got fantastic news. Your Redeemer shed the blood, poured the sweat, and cried the tears for you already. He's removed every piece of the mess and of the rubble and carried it on his shoulders all the way to Calvary. And there he left it. You are free. Now, where that wall stood, there's a clean, open space. And one day soon, people will fill that space to worship the God of heaven, and I will be there if I get what I want, and so will you. That was written over 10 years ago, when in the same space that we now call Hope NYC, there was a wall running through the middle. And here it is, again, there is a big wall. And it's so funny how God will do things like that. He'll talk to you so many years after and tell you, look, you've been here before. You've killed that giant before. You've faced this particular struggle before. And if God brought you through it before, he'll bring you through it again. Today, I want to talk to some of you who are in the middle of your struggle. There's something that you want, or there's something in your life that is just an insurmountable wall of rubble. Or maybe God brought you through the struggle already, and then at your feet lays all the ashes, all the memories, all the reminders, and all the remainders of the stuff that you've been through, things that still tempt you and try to suck you down. You know what? If you are still facing the wall of a failed marriage, the wall of feelings of doubt and insecurity, the wall that says you can't do any of this, you are useless and you are helpless, the wall of negative self-image, the wall of people condemning you or people criticizing you, the wall of the judgment of those who are supposed to encourage you, whatever it is that the wall in front of you looks like, I really want to just encourage somebody and say that we serve the God who is able to take those walls down. Further, he's able to take those walls down without you breaking a nail. When the children of Jericho were marching around those walls, you know what it took? It took a shout to bring the walls down. It took obedience first and a shout second. And I'm telling you, that's what it's going to take in our lives. Obedience to the word of God, and for the praise, the high praises of God to remain in your mouth, and every single wall will fall. You say, Pastor, that's very, very spiritual. It's not just spiritual, it's practical. But when the walls come falling down, when God removes from your path the old job, the toxic relationship, the addiction, that rubble surrounds you. The memories, the condemnation, the guilt, the hurt, the pain, the regret, all of those things threaten you. So even if the wall doesn't stand in front of you yet, there is this big pile of mess that you made before God had a chance to get a hold of that part of your life. And sometimes that seems even more strangling than the wall itself. Like my dancers though, one by one, we move those rocks, we move those stones to the trash. And even though it took some time, when it was all gone, it was such a beautiful space that people, in this story, I was saying one day people are going to worship there. Guess what? We've been worshiping there for 10 years. That wall is a memory. The rubble, all gone. And that's the word I brought for somebody that's listening today. It's just a short podcast, but this is what God is saying. That he is able not only to tear the walls down, but he removes all of the rubble, all of the debris and the dirt and the memory and the reminders and the remainders of all the stuff that you've been through. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to live among it. You don't have to worry about it, and you don't have to see it anymore because it's gone. This story is on page 30 of my book called Hey You Relax. I've never read to you from it before, and I thought maybe I will today. There are some stories in here that's so funny, a little bit embarrassing, and a lot that I read, like it was written more than 10 years ago, so I read it now and I'm thinking, who wrote this? Because I don't remember writing so much of it, but it's been such a long time ago. But I'll tell you what each and every one of these stories did for me today, the ones that I read. It reminded me about the big and amazing God I serve. It reminds me that he has never, ever, ever once left me, and he will not ever, ever, ever leave you. There's a story here, which I'm not going to read, called A Speedo and a Good Laugh. What on earth? I don't know. If you don't have a copy of the book and you would like to have one, I think they're available at preachergirltv.com/shop, pastorsharo.com. You can find a copy of it. It's pretty funny. It's called Hey You Relax, 100 Smiles, Laughs, and Whispers. And I hope that you'll enjoy it as well. Preacher girls come in all forms, all shapes, and all sizes. And it is my privilege. It really is beyond an honor to remind you of the Preacher Girl online conference coming up on August 25th and 26th, 2022. Over 30 of the most dynamic, cutest, most amazing, life-changing daughters of God are going to be on that Preacher Girl online conference. This Sunday, as I was watching the promo play in my church, I was so blown away. I keep telling this story. I was so blown away by the women that God allowed to be part of this particular conference. Names that you see on television, that you see on YouTube, that you hear on chart making Christian music. I mean, they're just mind-blowingly crazy women of God. And God brought all of them together in one place on those 2 days for a dynamic, free conference. I sat there and I thought, Lord, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that for free? And I kind of heard the Lord chuckle a little bit. I said, Lord, nobody else is doing that. That's you that's doing it. And he said, yes. Girls, let me tell you something. If you missed this conference, that's on you. But if you didn't register yet, I encourage you to go to www.preachergirltv.com and sign up. Register for the Preacher Girl Conference online. It is happening this August 25th and 26th, 30 and more amazing daughters of God. And you know what? Some of you are like, well, I don't want to hear anybody because I am more amazing. Honey, put your name down for next year. Who knows? You might be the next one featured on the Preacher Girl Online Summit. Don't miss it. Register now. And if you didn't register yet, you're missing all the best contests. Coming up in the next few weeks, we have so many great contests. If you're watching this after July 2022, this part isn't even relevant. But if you're watching it now, you still have time to register and enter to win ridiculously great prizes. Don't you ever forget that if God called you, nobody can uncall you. And you do not need a pulpit. You just need a message. I love you guys. Bye-bye.